Man, I hate to say I told you so, but I feel like I kind of told you so, and this can be very well documented and traced back to the live stream that we did for the 2021 NHL Entry Draft. It was on YouTube, it was broadcasted live, and you could very well see my opinions and analysis get thrown out there every time we had talked about this player, because the fact is, since he slipped over to 20th overall, I feel like a lot of people have sort of forgotten about him, mostly because of all the names that went before him in this 2021 draft. However, playing in the AHL today as a part of the Minnesota Wild's farm team, the Iowa Wild, this guy has shown off that all the talent that we thought he had heading into the draft is still there. Let's head over to Iowa, talk about the Minnesota Wild's 20th overall pick in 2021, and just go over the names that went before him and how these teams missed out. Let's talk about Jesper Wallstedt here today. Now, Wallstedt is a name that shouldn't really need too much of an introduction, especially if you've been a fan of prospects and this YouTube channel for a while. This is because even in 2020, we had made videos talking about how Jesper Wallstedt was supposed to be this franchise caliber goalie. He was supposed to be the next one in the string of elite Swedish netminders. You talk about the Henrik Lundqvists of the world, you talk about the Jacob Markstroms, the Robin Lehners, even right now the Linus Ullmarks out there. Jesper Wallstedt was supposed to be next in line in a pretty good queue of Swedish netminders. He was such a good goalie prospect as early as his 16, 17-year-old years that in his draft season, 2020-2021, posting up a pretty good stat line in the SHL, the top pro men's league in Sweden, as a 17, 18-year-old, there was so much to look forward to with Jesper Wallstedt and the growth that he would exhibit. For years, people were touting Wallstedt as a potential franchise goalie, right up there with the Spencer Knights and the Yaroslav Askarovs of years prior, and maybe even a tad better. However, when the draft came and went, you saw Jesper Wallstedt's name slip down and down the board, even though, if you look at the projections, Elite Prospects had Wallstedt at 6, Future Considerations had him at 8, Button had him at 7, McKean's at 5, McKenzie was the lowest one on him with 12, and he was the #1 goaltender ranked in Europe by NHL Central Scouting. Even though he was ranked to be a top, let's just say at worst, top 12 guy by all of these insider analysis scouts, he still slipped all the way to 20. And if you take a look at what Wallstedt is doing this season, I mean, right now he's in the Iowa Wild in the AHL, and he's got a .914 save percentage and a .260 goals against in 21 games played. But that's not even it. If you go over to this tweet made by Minnesota Wild Young Guns, Jesper Wallstedt is now 6-0-0 in his last 6 starts. He has not allowed more than 1 goal in 5 of the 6 games. He allowed 2 in the other game. He is finding his stride. He now has a 1 goals against average and a .966 save percentage over that span. The reply kind of goes over some more of Jesper Wallstedt and what it is that he's done. He is a goalie robot, square to so many shots. Tonight he just looks so smooth reading the play and getting set for every shot. The goal that was let in, he was square to the puck, he just had his stick off the ice. I don't see how he isn't a good NHL goalie. No smoke and mirrors with him. The Twitter poster then replies, yeah, he's smooth. From what I've been able to watch, he has been very good. I saw more SHL than AHL games of him, but he's only going to get better. Now, what I wanted to do with this information of Jesper Wallstedt being so good in the AHL, that he is at a .966 save percentage in his last 5-6 games-ish, was go over some of the other picks in the 2021 draft and talk about how some of these teams, do I want to say they goofed up? Okay, maybe they goofed up, but that's probably not the right terminology to use. Let's go over some of the guys that were taken before Wallstedt and talk about their situation, starting out with the team picking 10th overall. And the reason I'm doing 10 is because the first 9 picks, I feel like, sort of went in order of the way that we thought they could have gone. You could have thrown Wallstedt into that group of Clark and Eklund and Edvinsson, but at the end of the day, if you had chose any of the skaters over Wallstedt, it would have made sense in my mind. However, for Ottawa, at 10th overall, choosing a guy like Tyler Boucher instead of Jesper Wallstedt, especially with their concerns on goaltending in the future, I mean, it still kind of blows my mind today, seeing how Tyler Boucher went 10th overall. We have made so many videos about him and his development at the World Juniors and the college level, how he decommitted from college, etc. It's been very strange seeing his development path in the OHL now, but Wallstedt being available at 10 and the Senators not selecting, that was kind of a mistake in my opinion, but yeah, only time will tell how good Tyler Boucher is able to become. You take a look at some of the picks after. We're skipping over 11, we're skipping over 12, because Cole Sillinger, who was taken 12th, is an NHL player right now. I don't really want to go out there and harp too much on him since he's 19 and playing in the National Hockey League. Matt Coronado for Calgary, I think that's a pretty good pick because I do like Coronado a lot. I think he's got a lot of potential. For Buffalo at number 14, it's difficult to say they goofed this one up and not selecting Wallstedt because with the state of Buffalo prospect goaltending with guys like Devin Levi, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, you have so many good goalie prospects that a guy like Eric Portillo in the NCAA is going to have to leave. This is a pretty good organization already when it comes to goaltending, and with Devin Levi being as good as he is, there really isn't a need to get a guy like Wallstedt, so I can understand them not selecting the guy. 15th overall, though, is where things get interesting, because the Detroit Red Wings traded up to get Sebastian Cossa. Now, Cossa was the other goalie that was pretty highly touted, but the thing with Cossa is, even though he was kind of put in this competition against Wallstedt amongst many scouts in conversation, Cossa was never really that good in prior years. He only really exploded in his draft-eligible season, which is why we had ourselves the entire Wallstedt versus Cossa debate in the first place. If you had talked to people in 2019, 2020, years before the draft, nobody really thought that there would be any challenger for Wallstedt and his glory. But in 2020-2021, Cossa was so good in the WHL, and he happened to be a bit bigger, plus he's Canadian, leading to all the conversations that we had had. Now, the thing with Cossa is, the guy's playing in the ECHL right now. He's developing properly under Stevie Y's regime. He's had really bad numbers everywhere he's gone this season, a 7.83 in the AHL and an 8.93 in the ECHL. But of course, there's a lot of development time that goalies are supposed to go through. Not everybody can be a guy like Jesper Wallstedt, who is at a 9-something save percentage in the AHL at 20 years old, period. So even though right now Wallstedt is the better goalie, there still is a plan with Cossa. It's just, for right now, in 2023, it's difficult to justify taking Cossa over Wallstedt considering the development so far. Of course, though, goalies are long-term. You can't really go out there and dismiss an entire guy's career just because somebody else is doing better than him. But I did think it was interesting to point out just how much better Jesper Wallstedt has been than Cossa so far. Moving over to some of the other picks that were taken before the Jesper Wallstedt pick, you have Brennan Othmann over to the Rangers, Zachary Bolduc to the Blues, Lucius to the Winnipeg Jets, and the Predators taking Fyodor Svechkov. But the one that I really wanted to talk about was a team that wasn't even in the top 20, the Edmonton Oilers. Because the Oilers actually had the 20th overall pick for a brief period of time before they traded that pick away to the Minnesota Wild. Might I remind you that the Oilers had their chance at getting their goaltender of the future in Jesper Wallstedt, but they traded that away to get the 22nd overall pick, which they used to select Xavier Bourgault, and another pick in the 3rd round, which they used to select Luka Munzenberger. Now, if you had asked me, Luka Munzenberger and Xavier Bourgault added together, the value of that is not really the same as what Jesper Wallstedt is today. And I know you could say the Oilers have Stuart Skinner, so it's fine, they have their goalie of the future, but you gotta remember, back in this time frame, you had the Mike Smiths and the Mikko Koskinens of the world. There wasn't really too much of a guarantee that a guy like Stuart Skinner would have been that guy. And so, with Jesper Wallstedt available on the board, it still kind of blows my mind how the Oilers straight up refused to draft him and ended up going with a goal-scoring forward from the QMJHL and Luka Munzenberger instead. They had the chance to get him, and then they traded down, so you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below what that decision looks like a few years down the line, but I thought this would be a very interesting video topic to go over, mostly because Jesper Wallstedt has been so good in the AHL thus far. So you can talk in the comments on your thoughts about the Jesper Wallstedt pick, the fact that he slipped all the way to number 20. What are your thoughts on all these teams not selecting him and instead opting to go other directions? Do you think some picks are a little bit more justified than others? If you're a fan of any of these teams that had passed up on Wallstedt, then what are your opinions on that? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 9, and bye.